Good evening once again. Welcome to another episode of Caribbean Feedback.
That's right.
My name is Curtis Henry, and I'm imitating my good buddy this evening. I'm wearing his hat. Mr. Mark Chase, this is your fancy hat, right?
No, my hat doesn't look like that, boy, and it don't sit on my head that way either.
Hey, Sam.
Hey.
It's what we call one of them long-time saga boy. Yeah, man, and they tilt the hat, and hold on, it's supposed to have a feather. Wait a minute, the feather come out. It's supposed to have a feather in the side somewhere here, so a little feather in the cap.
I was trying a little star boy take now.
Yeah, one of them long-time saga boy did. Yeah, so I'm just embodying the spirit of Mark this evening with my little
The spirit of Mark is what's going on with you and Mark today, right?
The fedora. That's how you call it, Mark? The fedora hat.
A fedora, yes.
Yes, a fedora. Okay.
That's a short brim. That's a short brim fedora that doesn't fit you.
It doesn't fit? No, well, you see, I have plenty hair on my head. Your head kind of pointy and go. Anyway, that's a different topic.
welcome, one and all. Use a pointy head from when you was in school.
Sister Karin, how are you doing this evening?
I'm well. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored. So glad you could join us. Mr. Mark Chase, how are you doing today?
Wonderful.
Lucy.
Wonderful.
Miss Lucy O'Brien, thank you so much for joining us. Denise Williams, good night to you also. It's a fedora. Thank you so much for the correction. Trini Sugar, she's listening tonight, and all is well. Trini Sugar, for those of you all who don't know, that's a very spectacular, very riveting performer from out of New York City. I think she resides. Trini Sugar, Trinidadian, Calypsonian. Yes, soca artist.
So Trinidad is the land of sugar, and Grenada is the land of what?
Spice,
sugar, and Jamaica is the land of what?
Everything.
Wood and water.
Everything.
Wood and water.
Wood and water.
All right. Wood and water. I don't know who came up with that, but.
And we
Mr. Archer, how are you doing this evening, sir?
You know, I and Rastafari, just Irie right now. You know, just keeping it level, and you know. Everything just vibes, you know. Everything just vibes right now.
Just level vibes.
Level
right.
vibes.
Well,
we're together, you know.
Tonight, any minute now, our resident little comer will come stumbling into the room.
Yeah.
She said, that's right. Trini Sugar. Yes, you. I guess she is from Trinidad. St. Paul and Trini. And yes, I mean that's right. I think she does reside in New York. But a very electrifying.
Electrify what?
Performer.
How could I put it? Hold on. I'm trying to find the right words here.
You gotta find the right words.
She does whine a lot. I can't put a fancy term in it. She could sing and she does whine a lot.
Wine is something you drink.
Not that kind of wine. Not that kind of wine.
Oh, okay.
Not the fermented kind. We're talking about the rhythmic flow of the waistline.
Okay.
Yeah, how we just say, she does whine and get on bad when she performs.
She's a whiner girl.
Trini Sugar. And for those of you all, you can look up Calypso on the Avenue. Look it up on Facebook, and you will see several performances from her there. Calypso on the Avenue. Look it up on Facebook. You will see her there performing, and you may also see a couple performances from yours truly, performing on the Sesame Flyers Calypso show in New York. Not so much on the Calypso scene anymore, but right now I don't sing anymore, I talk. So to see Trini Sugar, go on Calypso on the Avenue on Facebook. Follow, like the group, and you'll get more information and see different shows they have coming up, and you get to see Trini Sugar. All right. So tonight, before I start, Sam, run the thing.
All right, let you run the thing.
My name is Karin Forrester. I represent Banter Creations. Banter Creations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in wonderful shapes, shades, sizes, and colors. Please don't be scared of the large sizes. They're extremely lightweight earrings. Banter Creations can be found on IG and on Facebook as Banter Creations. That's Banter Creations with a K.
Come check me out, chriskeys.com. I'm worldwide.
Tony Altamirano.
Hi, I'm Gina.
What's up, everybody? I'm Win Vu, award-winning remixer.
Koya, I'm an artist.
Hi, my name's Justina Bethel.
Hi, I'm Mike Bowen from Denton, Texas.
How you doing? This is Tom Cuff from Music by Tom Cuff. Check out Samuel E. Archer's book, Hybrid Executive. We are in the business, and here's how you can be a better business person because you're running your business.
You can find my music at JustinaBeth_EL on Instagram or JustinaBethel.com, and I am a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive, just like you.
Follow me at Koya Music, and I'm also a hybrid executive.
I'm worldwide, baby, but just know I'm a hybrid executive. That's all you need to know, baby.
Get on up, B.
Check out my music, MikeBowen.com. I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
Yes. We are here. We're back once again.
That's right.
Now, this week, people, we're extending a conversation or conversations that we had last week. The topic of conversation last week, we spoke about 10 things. I can't remember how many we actually discussed. Things that matter most to Black people here in these United States. We spoke about the value of our dollar and not spending it between each other. We spoke about traditions. We spoke about values or lack thereof. We spoke about some of the other things that some people deem to be important, but stuff that we could just skip on by. Some people have high priority on their physical appearance. Women seem to put their physical appearance, wigs and nails and eyelashes and some of these things above almost all other things in their lives. Some of the brothers, their cars and sneakers. But we sat here and we discussed some of the other things that we needed to really focus on that should be of importance to us as a people. Stuff like economic security. Karen spoke about access to equal education and having the proper equipment in schools. Mark spoke about equal pay for equal work. We talk about traveling safely across these United States and not being harassed by those that are paid to protect and serve. So tonight we're here once again to discuss a few more things that should matter to Black people here in these United States. Today was the Democratic primary elections here in America. So for those of you who believe in the electoral process, you should have voted. Otherwise,
Zip it. Zip it.
You give up that power that you claim that we as a collective people have. For those of you who are able to vote and didn't go out today and vote, you sort of give up that right. You give up that power that you claim we have. And for those of you who do not believe in the democratic process, I ask of you, what are you going to do to create the change that we deem necessary for our survival in the United States? Since you don't believe in the electoral process, you don't vote, or maybe you just can't vote. What are you going to do to create change for yourself, for your family, for your community, for your people, for us as a nation? Let us talk about self-preservation. You know, most of us here have taken a flight in an airline before. And you know, whenever we take a flight, they caution you that if ever these oxygen masks should fall out, you should put on yours first. Even before helping your own children. My people, you cannot take care of others until you first take care of yourself. That includes loving yourself before you can even become capable of loving someone else. These are simple little things I think, I believe, I know we can do that can create tremendous change for us as a people. I've often said it, starting with the I, before we go to the collective we. For far too long, we've been crying, we complain, we strategize, but year after year, we sound like little brats. Crying and complaining, we sound like little children, talking about the same ills that have been plaguing us as a people for centuries. They don't like us. They don't respect us. They don't want us to shop over here. They don't want us to live over there. And shut up. What are we doing wrong? Ask yourself that question. What are we doing wrong? What can we do better? Tell me some of the ways that we can help ourselves instead of always looking forward, looking towards the government to assist us in areas that we as individuals could clearly help ourselves. What is it we're doing wrong? And tell me, what can we do right?
We can get in. You said instead of the government, and I have to say that I think it's a collaborative situation. I would love to see more people representing us in government that look like us. You know, if we start by making sure our local representatives, you know, can get on that ladder to get into a higher position. Perfect example, as you stated, people running for Congress, and these are the people who are representing your state, who get funding for different variety of things for your state. Get out there and vote. I usually vote early, and this time around, I was scampering, trying to get to the voting area in time. And I did. I made sure to get out there, and I did vote. I did vote for my local person for Congress this evening. You know, it was like an hour and a half before closing, but I got it in there. I got it in. Doesn't matter, as long as you get it done. Walk your talk, you know. Get involved with local government and get the people that you want to see in higher positions, help them out to get to those positions.
So let's shift to our light-skinned blue-eyed boy. Did you participate in the electoral process today?
All your brain cells done bump into each other at the same time today. So if you would someone reach over and just slap the hat off him, so his mouth don't run. Now continue.
I'm asking the question: first of all, do you believe in the electoral process, and did you participate today?
Yes. To both.
Yes, to all of the above.
Yes. That is correct. I think first of all, we as a people have to learn what is entailed in the electoral process and politics in this country in general. Most people don't realize you have several representatives, not just in the House of Representatives, but you have a state House of Representatives. In some cases, a local House of Representatives. All politics are local. And if you don't know who's in charge, how can you make a complaint? Secondly, I don't see a problem with the complaints that people have because they're valid.
No, I'm saying we complain to each other. As opposed to we complain to each other as opposed to complaining to those who are in the position to do the job.
Right. Learn how to act at home before you go foreign. All right? That's rule number one. Learn how to act at home before you're going to foreign. So you start with the complaints. What do we recognize? Who do we go to? All right? Here's the problem. Every ill that we suffer as a people has been suffered by every immigrant group. The difference with Black people is we don't stop being immigrants. The Italians, they shoot up the place, they wear all the gold in their mouth. All of a sudden now, they're Americans. The Germans, the same. The Irish, the same. We don't stop becoming immigrants because we can be picked out. Now, there's nothing we can do about that. Not a damn thing. What we can do is stay within our communities. That we can. And in that, there is power. Until we understand that, nothing will change.
Same question, Sam.
I prefer to look at things where you can build and be self-reliant. And, it's cool to work with the governmental and political arena and vote and get, that sort of a streamline. I prefer the self-reliance direction, build and work it, create it, run with it, develop it, that sort of thing. And I think it should be one of the important things that we look at. Everyone comes and takes a piece and make it their own. And to sort of piggyback off of what Mark was talking about, we have to, it's really about adjusting our perception. Once we kind of adjust our perception, we should be able to go a lot further than how we are today. And again, all things are important. Everything is not for everyone, but we can most definitely also start looking at a self-reliance. Take it from the Marcus Garvey page and build and have your thing set up. As everyone else is setting up their thing, you set up your thing too. So that's the angle I come in from it.
So speaking about all things are not for everyone, to hear an opinion from someone who I believe should be in politics, functioning more, not on local government, but I think they would function best as a senator. Not as a state senator, but as a U.S. senator. Because I do believe that they have that bravado and that resilience to push back and not be pushed around. I would like to get their opinion, if I should, Senator Barnes, if you give us your opinion on this. As I stated, I don't know if you heard us from backstage. Those of us who can participate in the electoral process and do nothing about it, and then yet still we complain. We complain not even on a local level, we complain to one another about what should be done and what they're not doing, and they. But yet still, the power that's within your hands, if you believe in the system, you're not exercising it. do they have any ground to stand on, or should they even be allowed a listening ear when they did nothing?
Hello, darlings. How are you all doing?
Lovely.
I am so happy to see you all.
Don't bother with it.
And
Don't bother with it.
I apologize profusely for
Don't
my
start.
late arrival. But I could not do without seeing you fellows tonight. You folks, I should say. It's such a lovely day here. It's fall, and it is just marvelous to see you all. And I mean that sincerely. Sincerely.
Have some
politician.
Have some
True
tea.
politician. Go on, answer the question.
Answer the question.
I'm sorry. It's been a really awesome day today. So anyway, I'm not quite. I didn't hear what was being said, but going on what I did hear since I've been on, I think that people who don't do something shouldn't really say much. And that's a kind of a bold statement. But then again, I think you suggested that I have that bravado, so I'll take it. I think that very seriously is that if you're not willing to put something in, if you're not willing to risk a pound of flesh, at least you shouldn't be saying anything. That's my personal view. One of the class that I just completed, that's towards doing something governmentally. I have no idea because I'm not pushing it. It's just that I'm being pushed in that direction and I go where I'm being pushed. So, but as everybody knows, I'm very verbal about things. And I do things about a lot of things that I'm verbal about. I don't just talk about it. So I agree with you. I think if we're not willing to vote, if we're not willing to take a stand in our daily lives about things, then we might as well be quiet. I have to say, Mark said something that really got me, and seems to have a problem with short-term memory. He said something about immigrants behaving like immigrants. And that's a problem that I think, I don't know about, I'll say about Jamaicans, I'll say that. I think we have a problem with that attitude. We have that, we want to be immigrants, but we want to be Americans. And we have not quite made the decision that one requires commitment. And yes, it's okay to go to Jamaica every other weekend. That's your right. You know, you haven't given up your citizenship. But I don't think we're fully vested in where we are. And yet we have run up our mouth on the radio station in Florida that Winston does that program. Jamaicans call and they this and that, and this is wrong and that is wrong. But they still maintain their Jamaican attitudes about certain things, certain behaviors. That's not conducive to living in this country. One of the things that I have an issue, and I don't know how political it is, but is Jamaicans always telling other people, when they African Americans, they have a very low regard for African Americans. From what I have seen and what I've heard over the years, I've been here 50 years. And so, and one of the things I said when I had the chance publicly in Florida was to say, when you come to somebody's country, you are a guest, at least initially. And the rules of the house is not laid out by you, it's laid out by the owner of the house. And so when you come in and somebody say, take your shoes off, that's their protocol. You don't have to agree with it, but if you want to be in that house, you ought to take your shoes off. African Americans have suffered, not the present day ones, but have suffered through a lot of things to get us into Macy's, to get us into Nordstrom and all these stores. African Americans has gone through a lot. So that we come here, we benefit, and that includes the Africans that comes here. So I think that part of our issue has to be, we have to be more fully committed. The Jamaicans here are more concerned about politics in Jamaica than they are about what's happening right here. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, it does. But you misunderstood what I was saying. I was saying that other immigrant groups come to this country, and within a generation, they're an American.
Yeah.
Italian American. And we spoke a little bit about, you know, they robbed and stole and cut up. And within one generation, they weren't mafioso anymore. They were Italian Americans. And the same with the Germans, the Irish. They used to have signs up that say Chinese allowed, niggers allowed, but no damn Irish. Within one generation, they were the police.
Right.
We are the only, and we didn't get to immigrate, most of us. Okay, we are the only people who are still treated after 417 years as immigrants.
But okay, I understand what you said, but I think, Mark, what I picked up on, and maybe I picked up on the wrong end of it, is that it's not just that we are treated that way. I think we behave that way. I think, I'm sorry, the Jamaican population, and I know in South Florida alone and in New York, I'm sorry, I think we behave that way. We want to be individualistic, and yet so it's a difficult thing.
Well, I think there are reasons for that, and I don't want you and I to dominate this conversation, but I think there are reasons for that, and they're very valid. Okay, if you listen to a white person, they look. If you don't say a word, you don't say not one word to them, and they'll look on this another N word somebody, and then you open your mouth. Oh, you're Jamaican. Oh, and all of a sudden, the perception of you is different. Yeah. That's been for generations.
Yeah.
So as a result, many Caribbean people retain their Caribbean identity to avoid what goes on to most Black people. You know, that's a survival tactic.
They think it does. It doesn't help. But all right, that's I understand what you're saying. I don't think it does, but they think it does. They think it they don't give you anything. It's a manipulation of race and culture. White folks use it to keep us always fighting, always run up, keep us that crab in the barrel mentality. When I came here at 17, oh my God, you read so well. Oh, you're an excellent. Oh, read for me again. And I'm saying to myself, them African Americans looking at me like, man, I will kill her in just a minute because she come here and they love her so much. And I'm grateful at 17 I knew what they were doing, because that's how you keep the vision going. I say we ought to, as Caribbean people, start keep our culture, keep your culture, do what you do, but we need to meld more with African Americans, and therein lies our strength. We have more in common than we think we do. Our foods, some of our foods are very similar. So the thing is that what the white man did is say, hey, you're superior to the African American. And we went, I always know that, man. Jamaican bad long time, man. We need to talk. And they create more trouble for our race. And we are not looking at, you see, let me tell you, as a little girl, as a young woman, and as an older woman, I love Africa. I want to go to Africa. I have suggested that to Jamaicans. Oh, Bush. We're not going to about Bush. I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Some of the most sophisticated places in this world, civilization began in Africa. And so we have these issues. That's why we'd rather go to Europe than to Africa. Anyway.
Let us look back. Let us look back at history. Let us look back at the whole this Underground Railroad thing. There was a woman in charge of that, right? Harriet Tubman. This gentleman, I believe it was Du Bois, W.D. Du Bois, had a quote where he said, "There is no force equal to a woman determined to rise." And somehow we as a people have I don't know where we got this from. We put the woman in the back. We moved them from in front. Women were the first teachers, the first nurturers of us as men. We moved them from up front. We put them to the side. We shift them from the side. We put them in the back. I do believe that if women were to rise up and show their force, if women were to step up and be determined to rise, as W.E.B. Du Bois said, I believe that the men will rally and stand behind their woman. Because we are not going to allow a woman to go out on the front line and fight with being their defender. We are not going to allow her to go out there and outshine us as being the ones who stand up and fight for our struggle. But somehow, over the course of time, I think women have become a lot more docile than they were in times gone by. And I do believe that if women jump to the forefront of some of these struggles, I do believe we can see some change.
May I say something quickly about that? I think that women, what you said earlier, Curtis, I believe that, see, I don't believe in vying with men. I don't believe in that. What I believe in, finding your place and doing your job well. I happen to believe that that's how life works best. That's my personal view. And I think that what is happening in our present society, and for the last 20, 30 years, is that women continue to feel that they have to vie with men. Listen, it's messed up in terms of salary and what men make and women make. All those things are real. I am aware of it, and I'm not trying to underplay it. But I think that what women have to do, bright, intelligent women, well-trained women, is that we have to focus on the prize. Find out what the prize is. Focus on it. Go towards that. You're going to meet men along the way. You're going to meet difficult men and men who are very misogynic and all. What's the word? Is that
misogynistic?
Misogynistic, sorry. And so we're going to meet them along the way, and all that stuff is going to happen. But I think that our present day women focus too much on undoing or outdoing men. That's not the focus. It's not. I don't think that should be the focus. I think we should find out what we do well, do it well, meet the opposition from males and females, and understand that as you go towards the top, you're going to meet opposition from females as well as males. So I think, that's my personal view, is that we ought to stop the struggle. Fight the stuff that limits women. Fight it. But do not have this anti-male, because that's part of our problem. It's an anti-male attitude that I see. So I just wanted to throw that in.
I wanted to comment on something that you all said earlier. Generationally, what I saw in New York, as far as the Jamaican population, let's stick to what I know. Not getting involved, not use the word vested, Dr. Judith. I found that my mother's generation, who came in mid to late 60s, just post civil rights activists were still very active, but things were sort of calming down a little bit when they came to New York, not the South, but they just did not, they focused so much on working, standing back. I think that they felt like they were out of their comfort zone. They didn't involve themselves into anything politically, not locally, regionally, certainly not any higher level. They didn't attempt. I know many, my mom's age, that did not even attempt to gain citizenship. It wasn't until 9/11 when everyone felt rooted, because they felt if I did the work and did it well and gained position in my industry, I was secure. Then 9/11 threatened everybody's positioning. And that's when I saw people scampering. What should I do? I didn't do this right. But let me seek a lawyer to see how I can get this straightened out. There were a lot of issues in my mother's generation that they just did not attend to those things. They did teach their children the same thing, as if it wasn't important.
Karin, I wanted to just piggyback on that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've found, and I see it with islanders who came from England to the US, there's a level of gratitude that some of us, like you said, your mother's generation, my mother's generation, they're so grateful for every little thing. And the thing is that it's not that, in other words, you put in the work. Yeah, you should be grateful, but you're putting in the work. So it's almost like, well, I'm just grateful for some day. You know what I mean? And I fight about nothing. We have what we need right now. And I can build a house back in Jamaica. And I can.
Right.
Part of it is that we look at this individual thing. And that's part of our core problem. If we look at our individual lives as part of the group, the blacks, if we look at it that way, it changes everything. But we, like most human beings, we look, it's me and my family. This is something that I have discussions with my family. And this lady, a Jamaican that I work with, her attitude is, my 2 sons, my sisters, my auntie, as long as they're okay. The bottom line, and she doesn't like when I say this, if you're going to tout Christianity, you can't live like that. The idea is that we are our brother's keeper. I believe that. I don't just talk about it. I treat people that way. I live that way. So I think that there's a Jamaican lady that I know, lived in England 40, 50 years, whatever. She lived in America. I think she you know what happened to that lady? I mean, they talk about mindset. When Princess Diana got married, do you know she paid her hard-earned money to go to England for that woman's wedding?
Indoctrinated. She was indoctrinated in that system. Man.
Exactly. So she had this. She was holding on to this. Well, you know, you live in England, but you worked. You put in time.
Whereas I am maybe one generation removed. I don't know, but I chose not to watch this. It was just too much. I was like, what is this?
But you take your money to go to England for watching.
But I wouldn't even watch it on TV, you know? And it was a discussion on the job.
I straight up believe, I say it don't concern me. Straight up. But Judith, you mentioned something a minute ago. We discussed this on the show before. And you mentioned the word a couple minutes ago, and that was gratitude. Also, Karin spoke about earlier on about our parents coming to America and whatnot. And I think somewhere along the line, a lot of us lost sight. Those of us who came here, well, our parents came to bring us up. But it was they also had this thought about returning home, about building a house back home. And many generations came up, and that was the ultimate goal.
Right.
To build something back home. So we never planted roots, as Mark spoke about. We didn't become Americans because we all had that dream to return home, self included. A couple years after coming here, I started packing a barrel because it was my intention to return home. That was in the 80s. I don't know what happened to that barrel over the course of time. I think I probably cooked some of the rice, and I everything. As you became entrenched in this society, some of those dreams sort of waned and fell off to the side. But this I don't want to stray too much. But let me talk about something else here. A lot of us just seem to take too much for granted.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know, we wake up every day. You know. Waking up, first of all, is one of the things that we should be grateful for every day, first and foremost. That is not a given.
That's a gift.
We have another opportunity to work. We have another opportunity to fight for what we believe in. And on the other hand, I look around, I see communities that just seem to have given up. The surroundings, the people. I'm talking about us now. I know them other people, they have the trailer park and the trailer trash, as they call it. I'm not discussing that. I'm talking here about us. Where the people, they just look haggard and destitute. As if they merely existing, waiting to die.
And they don't take care of anything around them.
They're just hoping that somebody come along and save them, not realizing it's incumbent upon us to save ourselves.
Not even that kind of paint they're investing and just paint the outside. There could be 12 people living in the house and the outside of the property look like hell.
Listen, Karin,
they're not doing anything. Take some pride, you know. We take pride.
In agreement with what you're saying, Karin, I pass houses. Now, where I live, you have to do things a certain way or you're going to get in trouble because it's an HOA.
Right.
But, like you said, I see 6 cars parked in the driveway. And the outside of the house dirty. And I'm saying, if everybody get a bucket of water and some soap, you take one side, me take, and brush it down if that's all you can do.
Right.
And it's the Jamaican, I'm going to say Jamaicans. Because I'm going to say African Americans fall into the same pattern. Some of us go far the opposite way. You know, the house is everything and everything is everything, and we go the opposite way. But I've seen it, and I am saying to myself, blouse and skirt, man, you can't take a brush and say, all right, this Saturday, We're gonna wash down this side of the house.
As poor as we are in country, the yard sweep
Yes,
is swept
man.
weekly.
Sweep
Inside the
dirt,
house, forget
sweep
about
dirt.
it. It's like a OCD nightmare. Inside the house is pick and span, but outside is swept. The stones, what they call it, whitewash. I don't even know how to make whitewash. Mark can help me out with that one. I guess the stones are whitewashed.
Oh, you know what this is? You know what this is?
The go-get broom, man. The go-get broom.
Yeah.
You know, you have to
take
take pride
this
in where you
and
are.
sweep the yard, a dirty yard, and we sweep it, and you have to keep it clean. Sweep the dirt and keep it clean.
Here, drop a can, a bottle, a piece of paper, and make an older person see they clot you.
I do not understand how is it. The strange part is that the people who are busy, somehow their yards are well kept. Them never home. Now we do understand the economic disparities between people. Yes, some of us cannot afford the water bill, so we can't afford to go lawn and nice grass outside. I agree. I understand that. Right? But the ones who work, their yards are well kept. The ones who stay home all day and do absolutely nothing,
vegetate.
the yard nasty. How is that? Who do we blame for that but ourselves?
Is the same reason why if you're living in New York and somebody live in Pennsylvania up in the mountains and they work in New York, they leave there in time to come to work in New York and arrive on time, and the people who live in New York rolling in 85 and 10 and 8 this. As you said. No, but we sort of veered off the topic a little bit. I wanted to bring it back. Now, one of the things that I took note of, by the way, we really touched on some really good points and needed points. But just to bring it back to our topic, one of the things I thought was interesting was while I lived in New York, and you know, in New York, you pay attention to the parking when you have a vehicle. And, you know, there'll be certain days that the parking rules were rested, right? And I
don't miss that thing, you know, man.
9 times out of 10, right? 9 times out of 10, it had something to do with a Jewish holiday. Right? It's like, oh, parking rules are suspended for today. And then you're like, what happened today? Oh, some Jewish holidays happen.
Yom Kippur.
So all, and then it was with schools. Certain schools were closed.
Right.
On certain days. And why? Because it was a Jewish holiday. And, you know, when you looked at the educational system, I went to CUNY, I went to New York City Technical College. We had a lot of Jewish professors there. And that was throughout New York. And then you have the legal departments with lawyer offices, and you know, you had a lot of Jewish lawyers, and somehow they worked it where when they had a holiday, parking rules were suspended. And this was and you know, it's just where that you want to take a page out of their workbook and say, all right, well, if they could achieve these types of things, you know, and still maintain their culture, maintain, you know, and you had different levels. You know, you had like those of us in Brooklyn, we were familiar with the Hasidics in Crown Heights, you know, so you had that batch, but then you had the other batch where they didn't really dress like that, but they were still Jewish. And
they were cohesive regardless of levels.
They were very, very
religious.
There you go.
Let me interrupt. That is not true. Let me, as a Jew, let me interrupt and tell you.
All right, interrupt us.
Do not get along with the Orthodox, who do not get along with what they call the new Jew, who does not keep a kosher household, etc., etc. They are not cohesive.
But they pose cohesiveness.
Well, okay. I understand what Mark. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Do they celebrate the same holidays? Yes. This is an old Jewish saying. Always keep a good goyim friend. All right? Because they just used to take the holidays. But they always had a good Christian who would work in their spot. All right?
Yeah, well, I don't mean it to that level.
When New York City found that with them taking these holidays, Shuravata, Happy New Year, this one, that one, Passover, the next, so on and so forth, it affected the work so much that they started making allowances. We don't do that. We simply don't do it.
I wasn't going that deep. I wasn't going that deep with the point. I mean, I would think that every community would have some sort of little rivalry within themselves.
When I said cohesiveness, I wasn't talking about skipping down the road, holding
right.
Politically and stuff.
We're on the same. Right, we're on the same tree.
Numbers.
So we're not talking about what's happening on the inside, but I'm just saying, those of us looking from the outside, if they could achieve that, what are we doing?
We're still talking about who came from the island versus who lives here versus who speaks this language versus who has this custom, this practice, dressed this way versus, looks different. We're still allowing.
They pose.
We're still allowing this.
They pose the attitude as if they are very cohesive. And that's the problem. We don't even pose it. We don't even pose it.
They don't. They are literally at war with each other.
But that's okay because something.
Literally.
But here it is.
They will kill anybody come amongst them, even though they don't like each other.
I worked in Borough Park. For several years. Borough Park, Brooklyn, exclusive Hasidic community. And the point is that they own everything. They own the real estate where they live. They own the supermarkets where they shop. Down to the pizza shop on the corner is being run by them. It's not an Italian pizza shop. They like pizza, they're making their own pizzas. Everything for, let's say, 10, 15 blocks this way, by 8 blocks that way, by another 15 blocks this way, is owned and run by Jews.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're Hasidic Jews or some of the other sects. The point is, that dollar still circulates within that community. And us who somehow think that their Rugula is better than the cinnamon bun in our community. We go over there and we spend our money over with them.
Very true.
They don't come in our community and buy nothing. So that is what they spoke about when they talk about that cohesiveness, because that dollar, which is the most vital thing, they hold on to that. And if you listen closely, you can hear the eagle screaming.
And they cuss each other. They cuss each other. Hold
on. Let me get something else here. The store that I worked in, I did my upholstery in the basement. The upstairs is where the customers came and interacted with the owners and did their business. I was working on some chairs. I came up out to the basement. As you all know, New York, you come out of the basement, you open up the gates. I came up. I walked in the store. I picked up a chair. Walked back out, down to the basement. When I came back up the second time, a little girl around 8 or 9 years old, she tugged on her brother's coat, who was about 12, and she said, "Look, he's stealing those chairs." And the little boy responded, he said, "No, not all of them are thieves."
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked around and I looked to them and I laughed. I laughed and I shook my head. I brought it up to the owner after, and they also found it funny. And they say, "You should have pointed out something," because they would have corrected the parents of those children to let them know that, what? I'm not one of them. That is not a compliment to me. Right? If you had to jump up in my honor to defend me, to let your people know that I'm not one of them other niggas, then no, that's not a compliment to me.
Right.
I don't need you to defend me.
We take it as a compliment. Some of us.
So that I don't mean to go off on that too much, but I know we're speaking about your people, your fellow Israelis. But
that's insulting. So don't repeat it. I'm dead. I'm dead serious.
Don't be dead.
I'm dead serious. Don't play with it.
Okay. Explain something on this topic. Tell me something about the Falashas, which a lot of people don't have any idea about the Falasha Jews.
Say this again.
The Falashas.
What in particular would you like to know? I missed what you were saying.
No, I'm speaking. No, a lot of people tend to put everybody, as we spoke about, in the same category. But within that community, we have Germans, we have Polish, we have Austrians, we have all different Russians. They all look the same to most of us, right? And we say they all Jews and they identify with Israel. But even there are some people who may be darker than you and I, who are also Jews, the Ethiopian Jews, and a lot of us are not aware of their existence.
The Jews, the several Ashkenazi and so on Jews that are in Israel are Africans. The European Jews are aware of this. Okay, and what they did was move them out, minimize them. They sat in perfect peace with Arabs for hundreds, thousands of years. But you had European Jews who came after, well, Great Britain was a big deal in that, sitting off the shore in ships and saying, well, Palestine, you're on your own. These people had come out of concentration camps and were warriors, and they took over. There is a large contingent of Jews in Israel that don't agree with what's going on. And that's why I say we're speaking very anecdotally right now. There's a long history. As we speak, we talk about even our own situation as Black people. We're speaking anecdotally. Each issue has a history, and that history has to be recognized.
Let me ask you a question, Mark, and I'm very curious about this. You've often said that anecdotally. You've said that in many conversations we have had. And I'm going to ask you a question about that. Anecdotal information adds up to historical information, doesn't it?
No, it does not.
Okay, it doesn't contribute.
Historical information is empirical. It's empirical.
Okay, wait a minute. The bottom line is, within each person's life, whichever group they represent, their anecdotal information somehow plays into historical facts, doesn't it? I'm curious because I think we have to be careful to write off anecdotal information. It is information. It might be subjective to a great extent, but it still has some degree of value. And I'm concerned
I personally don't feel if a white guy walks up and punches me in the face, a fight will ensue.
Right.
If I tell you about that, it's anecdotal. It happened to me once, or even twice, or even 10 times. All right. It's not a historical record. Now,
but is it your personal historical information?
No, it
happened. But it happened.
When 1,000 people, 10,000 people experience exactly the same thing, that's historical. My particular, I may have certain feelings about something, but I own them.
But I'm not talking about feelings. I'm talking about actualities, things that if somebody punched you, they punched you.
They punched me. What does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
Well, it might be somebody that comes from China and don't like you.
All right, so they punched me. A fight ensued.
It depends on who punched you. What if it is a king that punched you?
Okay, this brings up another interesting point here. we began talking about communities. We talk about representation in those communities and whatnot. But anybody here find that we as a people are treated differently from other races, even within our own communities?
I do. I've been here in Florida for 23 years, in this area for about 6, I believe. And we have a park on the adjacent property here, fairly good sized park. They host a variety of events, soccer games and cricket games, and other entertainment events. But what I have seen over the last couple of years, and it's getting worse, is that if you have, say, white Hispanics having a soccer game and it's supposed to end, say, 10:30, say the park closes 10:30, 11, 10, 15 minutes, if it's a black crew playing, 10, 15 minutes before the end time, they're being sort of intimidated with lights and sirens and being circled and ushered out of the park. Whereas you don't see that when it's white Hispanics that are playing, say, the same game, soccer, or well, they don't play too much cricket, but let's say it's the same type of sport. They're not treated the same. They're allowed to stay till 11:30. I've seen it till midnight. And this is done repeatedly. This is not an isolated situation. If it's a thing like we just had, the Trinidadian, like Juve, it wasn't held here this year. But if it was something big party atmosphere, somebody from the Caribbean or whatever, some huge performer, and believe me, the moment that scheduled time is reached, they're ushered out, lights, siren, and they're intimidated as hell. Mm-hmm. It's not done to the white Hispanics here, and that I have a huge problem with. And
well, that is why we had to buy we own estate, and we own security, and we own facilities, and have our thing there, and we keep it as long as we damn well please. Because we own that. These people own, they have arrangements and communication, and they buy the politician, they buy the police department, they buy all these things. That's why I said in a previous show, we need to start buying in too. If them could buy in, we could buy in as well. And when we start buying in, then the average brother they want to shoot on the road, he's a traffic stop, and then he ended up going in a coffin. All of that gonna stop, because now you're buying into the process opposed to you standing on the outside and waiting for them to make choices for you.
But I thought the voting process is what solved that.
But I'm glad
that's what we started off talking about. I thought it was the polling vote that solved that.
Depends on who you voted for.
Who you voting for? But Sam, I'm gonna follow through with that. The other day I thought of and I forgot to do it. What you said about the police, Sam.
Yes.
I'm gonna get one for my car and one for my son's car.
Yeah, but I'm into it.
I agree with you. And see, the thing is that when people say things that make sense, I follow through. And some weeks ago I said, Judith, you got it, and I forgot. So now that you say it, I'm gonna check on it tomorrow. The fact of the matter is that it makes sense. It makes sense to do things like that because you want to keep as much heat off you as possible. Could also make you stand out, but hopefully not in a negative way. But you see, the thing, we go back again. If we want group to work, individuals have to be interested in group. Everybody's talking about, well, the black, yeah, but each black person has to, at least several black people have to have the same interest. We have to say, let's own this. Let's purchase this as a group. Let's do this. But if everything is individualistic, if everything is what I want, and there's nothing wrong with wanting individual stuff, but unless we become group focused and group oriented, we're going to always be talking about what we're talking about now.
Unfortunately, historically, we were pushed to be individual.
Yeah, but when do we stop? When do we get it?
I don't know how that's going to sort out itself. But when you move in a group and the leader is taken out, or the person who may not necessarily be the leader, but the face in the front of the group is taken out, over time, and you know, we had financial districts that were bombed and burned. So what eventually happened is that we ended up being a people of individuals. You know what? We were a group here, and this get burned down, and people died.
Okay.
So
but as you said, it was by design. So
right.
at
So
some
we
point we have to restructure
you
the
know,
design.
look what they did to the Black Panthers. Look what they did to
Sam,
Marcus Garvey. I'm just showing you.
I understand. But listen.
And we're in a. Okay, go ahead, Doctor.
No, I'm just saying, in any organization, a leader always is prepping somebody to take this. A good leader, a smart leader, is always prepping somebody to take over if they're taken out, if they die, whatever. So the thing is that when Dr. King died,
are they really doing that, or should they be doing that?
Listen to what I said. I said a good leader, an aware leader. If you're running something, you think that you're it. That's a problem. You always have to think, when you go, who's gonna come behind you? Who's gonna follow you? So the problem is, when Dr. King got shot, Jesse Jackson, who I've never liked him. I think he's an opportunistic person, and not for the group, but for himself. That's my personal view of him. He laid down. It's in a book, and I don't know the title. I don't know the title right now, but it's actually was written when Dr. King was on the ground. Jesse Jackson had a white T-shirt, and he actually let the blood get on his shirt to say how close he was to the whole situation, and it's documented that he did that.
He wore that shirt for 3 days. He wore the shirt for 3 days.
Okay. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, I have no trust in those men. So the thing is that, okay, maybe they started out with good intentions, but after a while, the individuals, and it happens to white folks. People become me. I want for me, I want for my own and whatever. So now it's about them. I mean, it's known that when you want one of them to march with you, you got to pay them. They don't come and march with you just because it's a black group. You had to pay them some green money. So what I'm saying is, when you have people, what white folks have done, they bombed that town that they bombed where the blacks were doing so well and all that. It's real, it's true. But I am saying, if you have a goal, and I'm talking from personal experience, that's the only anecdotal, as Mark would say. I can't speak any other way. I get my behind knocked down. I'm still going to get up. I'm still going to rise again. I'm still going to say, well, what did I start out pursuing? Let me keep pursuing it. But if you don't feel that way as a group, it's not going to happen.
Dr. Judith, you are right. But what my point was, when you have all these different incidents happening, it changed the way how we relate would evolve. So now, right, when you know, so for example, this is not even anything. No, I personally don't know if it was on purpose, but this is a very good example. I remember when WLIB in New York pretty much went maybe 80 to 90% Caribbean. Right? This was this the early 90s?
Before that.
Right? And we had some of the best shows, the best talk. I mean, we had what's the brother we had is not is it Gary Bird? Not Gary Bird. What's the brother that was on there?
Bird was
Mark Riley, Gary Bird. Those were
Gary Bird. Right. We had some really powerful people there, right? And then eventually the because the calypso and the music was sort of like at a certain time on the weekend, and then it became 24 hours, and the programming made New York. And we're talking all the boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Staten Island. You were Caribbean. It was a cohesive place that all of us tuned in. And the station got leased, right? After a while, the station got leased. and the whole Caribbean community was cut off. It was like a slice. Boom. When you tune into LIB, it was something else. So now all these other personalities that was at the station, they're doing 2 hours over here. Somebody doing 1 hour over there. So instead of you could have locked into one place, now you had to follow everybody to know where they're going. And so if you take that and put that on a larger scale and you say, all right, if we move in cohesively as one, and even if you have leaders that you're training lining up, if they see what happened to the leader, they might say, you know what, I would love to lead, but I ain't like that outcome here. So they will change.
At the end of the day, it was dollars, Sam.
And women for the station.
Yeah, that was it. Got back to dollars, because what keeps a radio station, anything open is dollars.
Look at the Black Panthers. It wasn't really about money with the Black Panthers, right? But what was done?
How we know?
Somebody sent a letter to the east, and somebody sent a letter to the west, and the people in the east and the west thought, well, yeah, why these guys in the west arguing with us and the guys from the east arguing in the west, not knowing that the government was playing a part in that. So when you have all these little things going on in between, the cohesiveness, then it pushes everyone to be individually like, you know what, look, this is my wife, this is my husband, this is my children, this is my cousin. Let me make sure all is straight, and we go in so.
So Sam, my question is this then. When do we get to the point, first of all, to accept that they don't want us to be cohesive? First of all, accept they don't want us to be cohesive, but it's not our concern about what they want, it's what we want.
Yes.
One of the things that I find out about life is that, and I mean this sincerely, one of my siblings told me some years ago, stop talking out, stop writing, stop making these statements that you make publicly and writing stuff. I haven't stopped. I said, let me tell you something. I don't want to die, but I have to die eventually at some point. That's a surety. But for me to die for what I believe, and it tends to be because I'm a female, I don't care. I will stand for what I believe. The problem is, to me, is that a lot of us, a lot of Black folks who have arrived, or we think we are arrived, we don't want to consider dying for nothing. We want our peace, we want our stuff, and we're not interested. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. knew he was going to die, and he did it anyway. There's nobody, to me, in the Black movement, whatever movement we have now, that is willing to die for what they believe. They don't want to.
Okay, but as long as whatever you decide, as long as it falls in the guidelines of what the unseen people would like it to be, you'll be fine. Once you try to go out of that, it's going to be met with some sort of...
But that's what I'm saying. We are not willing. We are not willing to take that risk, and by that very fact, we're not willing to get anything.
We are willing to take the risk.
Where?
But there's a bigger, okay, we are known as the consumers in this country. If we stop become consumers, it would be like you stop selling petroleum.
Listen, man.
The economy is going to fall.
I beg Black people to take one day off, lock this country down. We won't do it.
What? But that's Dr. Judith, to just answer yourself.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I am saying to you. But the thing is this, Sam, is that if we continue to say this happened, so we're not going to do it anymore.
No.
That's basically what you're saying.
I was not being absolute. All I was saying was this is the reason why we're seeing this.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying. But I wasn't absolute and say, well, we can't fix it. But my point is, I am just explaining why we became individuals.
I understand. But when you explain it, it feels to me as if we use that explanation so often. Listen, I work with mostly white folks. This white woman that I'm working is trying to give me hell. She went to my boss and told her she wants me out of the classroom.
Mm.
My boss is a Black woman.
Well, right. Dr. Judith, we're dealing with a system. We're not really dealing with this white.
Yes,
But is that system we're dealing with?
Sorry.
So you had to look at
each person within the system. Each person within each system has to have a decision about taking a stand in their particular place. That's when it starts moving around. Just say,
okay, we're talking about systems. We speak about systems. We speak about unseen people. I often talk about unseen hand.
The unseen hand. Okay.
The unseen hand. Let me reflect on something here that we never really discuss on the show, because at the point of time it was too heated, and But over the past few years, we've noticed that a lot of police officers have discharged their weapons without care or concern that they would be punished. They operated with impunity. Let me ask you all something. I want Mark to pick up on this first. You think that they simply didn't care? They knew that there would be no consequences? Or was there some concerted effort by the unseen hand to do these things to force us to respond in a particular manner for whatever objective?
There are many rooms with many meetings that we are not invited to. That unseen hand is all around us. We, first of all, are not seen as human. We're subhuman. And that is taught and portrayed within police departments all over the country. Dead man, NHI, no humans involved, especially if he's a black male. This is taught. And realize that police work is generational in many cases. Granddaddy was a cop, daddy's a cop, I'm a cop. And it's passed down. It's passed down. So as for concerted effort, I think in many communities it is. It is concerted. We need to keep those people on this side of the tracks, or in the case of where you live, they go no further than Sistrunk Boulevard, and that's it. That's it. Here, better not step foot out of West Tampa or Ciudad de Ybor. That's it. Okay? It is both concerted and individual. Because again, I'll repeat, police work and investigations tends to be a family business and generational. And if daddy thought it and granddaddy thought it and great granddaddy thought it, little 23-year-old dummy who just got out of the academy is going to think it too.
Judith, you've lived here in South Florida. Have you ever paid attention to how a lot of these communities are made up? You have one entrance, and no matter how many twists and turns and whatnot you make, there is no out. You have to come back the same way to get out. It's somehow like we are being corralled. So if you commit a crime in there, there's no escape. You ever paid attention to that, Karin?
Yes, I have. There are a couple of communities that I can think of offhand within about quarter to half a mile from where I am located, that I've been in those communities at night, and I wasn't familiar with the layout in the daytime. It just happens in the late evening. And I'm like, okay, so how the hell do you get out? Because they literally, areas that were once open to the main road or to the main food store were closed off since the communities changed to primarily Black, plain and straight. And you could not go through and say, okay, I'll turn left here. I can see the main road. I just can't get to it. So if there's ever an issue of, cops having to encircle a particular area. There's just no escape, not by vehicle, and there were certain areas where you couldn't even get foot traffic. You couldn't go through, and that is all very well designed. By design.
This is what we're dealing with, people. You go to a fast food establishment and they start you on flipping the burgers. And you're flipping the burgers and you want to move up to the fries. But before you could move up to the fries, the manager come and say, hey, what happening? You need to have your associates and understand the ingredients of this burger, and then we're going to take you up to the fries. When you understand the ingredients and you get your associates and you graduate, the supervisor come and say, oh, that's not enough. You need to get your bachelor's in understanding the ingredients and how we put the burger together. Now you flipping the burgers, you know. So you know you go and you get your bachelor's and you come back. All right, I could move up to the fries. Now, you have your PhD in flipping burgers. And then when you have your PhD now, it's time for you to get your pension and retire. But guess what now? Your two children with you, and they understand, okay, mommy or daddy flipping burgers, and we're trying to get to the fries. But guess what? You're not getting to the fries. And they're going to keep you at that thing flipping burgers until it's time to get a pension and roll out a day. That is what this system is. And that is what we have to break and get out of that. So if you all want to get a PhD and teach other people all the nice ingredients that we put in the burger and how to make the best burger ever, and you could go and open your own burger place. Now you have to deal with the cow. Who own the cow? Who own the tomatoes? Who own the lettuce? Who own the bread? Yeah, you know, it's like starting a nursing agency. Only try that in New York now. Open a nursing agency because all of these nurses and LPN and whatever all the other thing, nurses aid and everything, and you start a nursing agency and the same stripping is why? Because we don't own the hospitals. Well, we are custom using this agency over here, or we are custom using that agency, but we qualified. You're still flipping burgers. You march down Eastern Parkway, you march in Manhattan, you march LA, you march in Soweto, you march, guess what? You're still making burgers. You're not going up to the fries at all. And the fries is that nobody threatened by fries, but why you can't get to the fries? That is what we're dealing with, people.
But it seems that each generation is less likely, this is just by observation, to understand that.
Everybody has to get to the fries, but you can't get to the fries.
But in our crew, amongst Black, each generation seems to understand less and less the importance of cutting through the preset limits placed on us. That is the sad part. And
but as a people, we have to discuss the power of tenacity, the power of endurance. And in life, with all those obstacles that you discuss, Sam, so many of us give up because something or some endeavor is hard. And I think that's what all of that is designed to do, to make us give up, to steer us off track. But at the end of the day, who told any of us that life's supposed to be easy?
Okay, all right.
Without struggle, there is no progress.
This is
and
why people
understand something, and not because you're struggling, it means that you're failing. Exactly. Not because it's struggling, it means that you are a failure.
Exactly.
We have to learn how to. Let me tell you something. Our grandparents, women from that era, let me tell you something of how miraculous they were. I grew up in a home with my two brothers and my grandmother. Now imagine that's four of us in the house, right? And nighttime come and she needs some flour and she make the 4 fry bake. And you're sitting there and you're hungry and you're looking at the oil bubbling and you know one of them fry bake is yours. All of a sudden, my aunt dropped by with my daughter. And my grandmother still making things. And you sit down there and you start to worry. So I hope none of them ain't planning on my fry bake. Right? But by the time my grandmother finished make that fried bake and some bush tea, everybody, they have a fried bake in their hand. How did she do that? Magic? No. When she need that first fried bake soap, she pinch off a piece.
All right.
Put it to the side.
All right.
She make the next fried bake, she pinch off a piece and she put it to the side. And before you know it, wherever she pinch off, she take that together and she bust that in two and she had 2 more fried bake. And everybody sit down and eat it. So I'm saying that generation, they knew how to survive despite the odds that were set against us. And I spoke about that earlier on. Too many of us just sit down waiting for deliverance. Curtis. They knew how to endure. They knew how to make do with what they have. They knew how to stretch. They knew how to overcome those obstacles. They knew how to survive. And I think today, in a lot of cases, I'm not saying all of us, a lot of us have given up.
Curtis, something Sam said earlier, and when I was saying about the lady that I work, when he said, well, that's an individual thing. When I was growing up, my father taught us how to approach difficulties, how to treat people on the job if they talk to you a certain way. He taught us tenacity. Serious, because he loved that word. He taught us tenacity. He taught us not to give up. He taught us how to stand and stay the journey. People don't want a journey. They want everything right away. So part of our issue to me is that we want what our parents had, we want it now, and we want it yesterday. So that's part of I believe that's part of our problem. I have been to, and when Sam said, and I'm very serious, it concerns me. If I as an individual behave a certain way on a job with a bunch of white folks, their tendency is to put all of us in the same category anyway. So if I stand up to them and another group of whites, and I keep standing up to all of them, it at least is changing to some degree, however small, the narrative of how white folks deal with us. But we don't want to do it as individuals. Let's have a group. The group might not be started unless one starts. I realize how loud I'm talking. That's my concern, is that we want group effort, but we don't want to be the one that starts. We don't want to take that initiative, that initial individual mark. We don't want to do that. We want for the group to start. Yeah, I'll join up now, but somebody has to step forward. So that it's all, I hear people talk about society. Society is not a building. Society is people. And it's one person, 2 people, and 3 people that say, hey, listen, this is worth fighting for. Let's go forward and do something. And I'm saying until and I've said this from we started this thing, and I'll say it until I die again, until we see the individual need to work on ourselves. I have worked at places where I started out. I bought a couch in New York. This is many years ago, a couch bed. And I had a Jamaican woman supposed to be a friend laugh at me. Because at that time, I was paying $2 every 2 weeks on the couch bed. I should laugh at me. But when I got it out, it was mine. It was paid for. When I got ready to move and leave New York to come to Georgia, this is in the 80s, I sold that same couch bed for $300 and something. Now, if I was concerned about how she felt about me as an individual, I wouldn't have bought it. It's my striking $2. And I owned it. So if we cannot continue to be tenacious and bold and strong as individuals, we cannot do it as a group. And we have these people always, me first. We have got to get to the point where we agree that we're okay as we are. That I keep saying that, and that is the root of our problem.
Dr. Judith, I agree with you.
We don't yet agree that we are okay as we are. We got to put an extension in here. We got to do this. There's always something wrong with black folks, and there's black folks thinking it.
I agree with you, Dr. Judith. But when you finish pay for the couch, where you putting the couch? After you bite, where you put in the couch?
What do you mean where I put it? I put it where I was living.
Okay. All right. That's all I said. That's all.
Wait till I put it on the street. I put it where I was living. No,
but when I bring my point, I wasn't bringing my point and say that we have to give up. I was just saying, I was just pointing out the situation that we're dealing with.
But so we have given up. We have given up. Listen, read Essence Magazine. Read Essence Magazine. Look at Essence Magazine. Look at a lot of these black establishments. They encourage some of this slackness because it sells their magazines. They encourage some of this deadbeat behavior. They encourage some of this garbage. And we always talk about racism. We don't even like our striking selves.
Let's go back. Let's go back a couple of generations. All right. We just recently got rid of some icons, true icons of American food culture. Uncle Ben, Aunt Jemima. Let's go back 4 generations. There are people who started farms, have big pieces of land, passed it on to their children, going, yes, sir, boss. We just don't recognize it today. We have a hard time recognizing it. Okay? If a young woman, and I'm not making an excuse, but I want it to be looked at. If a young woman is trying to keep a job and she feels, for whatever reason, rightly or wrongly, that she needs to put extensions in her hair, it makes her boss happy or whoever she's trying to make happy. That's what she's going to do. And it would be less than intelligent not to. Okay? We're suffering from the same ills we always have. However, in hindsight is always more beautiful than what's right in front of your face. And we've had a history, 416 years, of self-hatred and put in the position of self-hatred. Put in the position, us trying to eat, to maintain. The group that comprise this panel are not in that position. We're not in that position. We all have a profession, a trade that we can use. But that's not true of the majority of Americans and the majority of Caribbean Americans. So as bold as they may want to be, it precludes, food, shelter, maybe a little television now and then, sort of precludes boldness and tenacity. And so when we look out of our windows and suck teeth and say, God, look at it. Boy, put your pants up. All right? Seems foolish. And it is. It is. But that kid is selling see-through sets up on that corner and engaging in an underground economy that allows him to eat. And we've got to understand that. We've got to understand that we are free in chains.
So tell us, people, in conclusion, tell me something. I asked the question in the opening, and I'm asking it again now. What are we doing wrong? What can we do better? Give us some solutions. As usual, we begin with Karin.
Sure, begin with Karin. I really don't appreciate that one tonight. But anyway, I'm a huge advocate for not allowing history to repeat itself. And I heard all that you said, Mark, but I think that historically we've just keep on, as you You love to use the word narrative. We keep on using the same narrative and refuse to sort of break the mold and step out on faith, step out on belief in I can do something better, different. If someone had a particular religious belief system and a prospective employer said, listen, in order to work here and get the how many tens of thousands of dollars per year or whatever, you have to shave that beard, cut that hair, cover something. Person would say, you know what? I understand. This is your business, but I will not be working here. I will find employment elsewhere. I don't think we need to always kowtow, please, just to get the few dollars. Although I understand more than the average, I think the importance of getting the dollars. I understand all of that. I just don't think that you always have to toe the line and, yes, sir. And no, I'm not with that. I'm not with that. There's always some other opportunity. You just have to find it. Okay. So I don't believe in repeating events simply because that's what we've learned. That's a template that we've had. Whether that's about the hair, the nails, the eyelashes, the certain outfits, the skin. Yeah, I'm not with that. Not at all. Not at all. Break that mold. Let's move on to something else. That's it.
Mr. Chase.
I understand what you're saying. But I look at myself and I look at the people on this panel that have achieved despite and in spite of. There's a certain amount of talent that exists here that doesn't exist in other places, and I'm willing to make allowances for that. As Dr. Martin Luther King said, how can a man pull himself up by his bootstraps if he has no boots? Right. And we have to make allowance for that. We have to understand it, and it's great to, speak in grandiose terms. But there are certain realities. When your children are hungry, when the lights are off, you do what you do. And sometimes that means rob and steal. I don't think that us being hypercritical of those who have to do it, we should look at the reasons why they're doing it. If you want things to change, you have to be willing to put up with what it takes to change. My personal feeling is we should all leave. Pick up and leave. Mass immigration, to whatever country we feel best about. But pick up and leave. That is sure fix this wagon.
Dr. Barnes.
I agreed what to a large degree what Karin said. I don't believe that there's nothing that stops me. So I don't understand giving up. That's my personal, and I don't apologize for it. There are circumstances that we all grew up with, whether it's in Jamaica or wherever, that I could have said, sometimes I look at my life and I say, wow, I've come a long way. Because I remember how I started. I remember how my family started. And often we as adults now will say what our parents did and the things that they stood for and the things that they taught us. That's what got us where we are. And that's what makes us keep standing up and struggling for whatever that we need to. I wonder how many of us have African-American friends. And I'm not just talking about us here. I'm talking about people from the Caribbean. How many of us have African Americans that we are close to, that we perhaps been married to, whatever. I wonder about what we practice. We say things, but what we live is often two different things. I will always criticize, and I say it, I have no shame, I will always criticize people who put things on their bodies. It's their bodies, their choice. But I'll always criticize them if they have an issue about their race. I'll always feel that way. If people don't accept the fact that we have a certain kind of hair, that's what we were given. Yeah, you have choices what you do with it. But when I talk about things like that, I talk about it because it seems to be a focus. We can't do anything else. We can't figure out how we're going to do things and stand up and make a stand and do something that's going to benefit the group because we're caught up in our skin color. We're caught up in our hair. We're caught up. I see people at school. I see people on the street. And they're walking and they're doing this and they're doing that. We are preoccupied with the facade. We are preoccupied with the outside. And these are my personal opinions. And we do not stand up and on a daily basis say, as Karin said, there are a lot of things that I have not had because I decided that what I want and my value is more important than having that thing. So I make a decision. I was saying to somebody recently, if you have a price, somebody will pay it. And so I do not let anybody think they can just tell me, especially if they're white, but anybody tell me, well, if I give you this, no, I will make a decision and I can only speak from my point as an individual. It's not being unusually bold or whatever. It's just that I was brought up a certain way to stand for what I believe. And I sincerely believe, and I'll always believe, that in my little world, I take a stand daily. That's all I can do. I can't get en masse together, but I, as Judith Barnes, can take a stand on a daily basis and say, no, I don't care what you offer me. I'm not doing that. No, I don't like that. No, thank you. I'll walk away from this. These are things that I've done, and I will do again. So I believe that we have lost that cause, that group effort, and we have no problem. This morning, a 16-year-old child was shot at a bus stop here in Georgia by a black boy. They robbed him, and then they shot him. He's dead. He looks like him. When are we going to get to the place where we look at each other and is not offended? I don't care what white people have taught me. I don't care what they taught my parents. My father was as dark as me, darker, and he had a problem in me being dark. But I loved my father. I knew that he carried that generational curse. I knew that it was in him. His mother didn't like him because she preferred his cousin who was lighter and had curly hair. And my father lived with that. And despite all of that, and I saw this in him, I still, thanks be to God, I still like this body, this skin. I look at a black pastor in Florida telling me he had to marry up. You know how he married up? He married a light-skinned woman. We still have that vestige of self-hate in our lives. We still have it. It's profound. It's still here. Okay, white people taught us these things, and they inculcated all this stuff. When do we, who are supposed to be wise, thinking people, say, not me? I say not me. I say I'm not trying to lighten my skin. I never have. I say I'm not going to do anything with my hair. That's why 30 years ago I stopped permanent. Because I wanted to be clear, in my world, I have no issue with being a black woman. So I keep telling people, we want society to do this and we want this to happen. If I as an individual don't start, where will it start? So I'm responsible. I'm accountable to all of you on this panel. I'm accountable to every black person. I'm accountable to every human being. That's how I look at life. And that's how I live. It makes me a target. But I will continue to do that. And so I end by saying this. The only way that I can help or do my part as a black person in the black race is to be very sure that I have no issue with being black. and that I will fight in any instance. I went to the store yesterday, Walmart, to get a battery for my car, to open the car door. And this woman, she's black and Hispanic, and that's another issue all by itself. She's black and Hispanic, which the white Hispanics don't even recognize them. And I was trying to get the battery, and she was being very kind of offhanded and almost indifferent. It's like she wanted me out of the store. And she kept saying, I said, listen, I bought a battery here before. Tell me you're out of it. Tell me, but do not tell me as if I never bought it, like I'm hallucinating and I never bought it here. And she was so indifferent. And I turned and I looked at her and then I held my head down. I said, she started saying, well, maybe I said to her, the manager or whatever had told me that I could come and get it here. And she goes, well, maybe she know where it is, but I don't. I said, you should never say that to me. I said, I'm a customer. Don't say that to me. I said, first of all, you're throwing your co-worker under the bus by saying that about her. I said, don't say that. In other words, what I was saying, and I didn't stop there. In other words, what I was saying to her is, you're part of a group. What the hell is wrong with you? Why are you throwing this one under the bus? Why don't you say, well, you know what? Let me find out from her exactly what's going on. That's part of our issue. We dash each other under the bus with nothing, for the simplest of things. But I address it every chance. Every time I'm in a situation like that, I don't walk away from it. I address it. And that's how I end what I have to say. I will not, every chance that I get, this racial thing, this black thing, this West Indian, but I will speak up. My brother said, somebody gonna kill you. I said, well, I go off dead for something. And I'm not joking about it. It's not false bravado. It's just, that's who Judith Barnes is. And I'm saying, if we don't take that stand individually, not because I say so, but because it works. It works. Because when people realize that Judith said it, and Sam said it, and Karin said it, and Curtis said it, and Mark said it, they say, okay, we got a force to deal with here. But we are not willing. Folks, we are not willing to die for anything. We want to live at any cost. And for me, my personal mandate, I'm dead for it. Because that's how I believe. Otherwise, my life has no purpose. Because I just live to survive. That's it.
Mr. Archer.
Very, very, very profound, Dr. Judith. Very profound. Very profound to the panel. I do want to encourage our viewing audience that we need your help. Please hit the like button on YouTube, hit the like button on Facebook. Please share the link to someone that you like and share it to someone you don't like. But share it at the end of the day. This would help the show in a great way to survive in the jungle of the internet. So, Dr. Judith, in answer to your question, when are we going to make that change? We have to think of the number 7. We have to think of the number 7. And what's happening with 7 is that we have to think 7 steps ahead. Right now, the Black experience is experiencing Groundhog Day. But instead of it being that you sleep and waking up, is your parents who sleep, wake up, and then they get the wrong thing, because every time you wake up, you're thinking, well, maybe it's this over here we need to deal with. And then you wake up the next day and say, well, maybe I had to deal with that. And it's a Groundhog Day. But instead of it being that same person getting up every time to figure out what he had to do to get out of the Groundhog Day, is every generation. So we had to think in steps ahead of the game. So that's stuff to just vibe with, and we could talk more about it in the after show. So what I was eating tonight, because some people like to know, they didn't make any comments tonight, but they want to know what Sam is snacking on. Pumpkin seeds, roasted, dates, and I forget what the other thing is. But it's stuff to help you have good movement and thing. So let's go to my pointers here. I have don't die over there though. I have 2 pointers from the discussion tonight. And I used the analogy of flipping burgers. All right. So we have 2 things to do in reference to, and of course I'm being it's metaphors, right? What we have to start doing is we have to legally bribe the supervisor so we could move up to the fries. Okay? You don't want to go all the way up to the top yet, but you have to do it smart, you know. So let me get, next step is to pay the supervisor and say, look, I understand everything about the burgers. I would like to get to the fries. And somebody would let you through. That's one thing. The second thing we have to do is build our own burger establishment. And now you can go from burgers to fries to milkshake to apple pie to what else? To the toys. And then you could be an owner of the franchise. And that is what we have to do. And those are my points for tonight's episode. Dr. Henry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have never conformed. And to say it like my fellow Jamaican sister would, me nah beg, me nah bow, I mean nah pet and powder no boy. I quoted W.E.B. Du Bois earlier on tonight, and Mr. Du Bois also made a statement when he graduated from Harvard. He said, the honor, I assure you, was Harvard's. You have to understand that. When anyone closes their door and say they don't want me to work for them,
thank you, sir.
That is your loss.
Thank you, sir.
Not mine. Because I am coming to you with a skill set that would benefit your business and 10x your income. So if you should choose to close your doors to me, that's your loss.
Amen.
Not mine.
So Judith, roll.
Dr. Du Bois also stated that not tomorrow. Forget about yesterday. Now is the accepted time. Not tomorrow, not some more convenient season.
Convenient.
Now is when we need to get up and do something.
Stand up.
Stop waiting. Stop waiting. And like I stated earlier on, nobody ain't coming to save you. I spoke earlier on. Dr. Du Bois also talked about, he said a little less complaint and whining. And a little more dogged work and manly striving would do us more credit than 1,000 civil rights bills.
All right.
At the end of the day, people, it is in our hands. You have to remember, people, everything in life needs work. It needs work and effort for it to be nourished. And tonight, I dare you to make the effort. Make the effort to be the change that you would like to see. We all talk about, yeah, I want to see this, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see that. Be the change that you want to see in life. Make some other simple efforts to simply do stuff like have fun. Have fun in life. Too many of us, we depressed, we stressed out at all these things. Rightfully so. There are things that would, trust me, if you take on some of these issues, you jump off a bridge. But make that effort to simply have fun in your life. And do not let these issues overcome you to the point where they take over your very persona. Your whole personality begin to change. You don't even realize why you're angry all the time. Take control of your own life. Make that effort to simply have fun. Make that effort to be your crazy self. Don't allow this world to change you. Don't allow this world to change your smile. Let your smile change the world.
Yes, sir.
Allow yourself to be yourself. Everybody else taken. Everybody else is taken. Stop trying to be somebody else.
Amen.
Make a concerted effort to be different, to be original, to be you.
Me. Yes, sir.
Be the exception and not the rule. Simply be yourself without apology. And I say this for the love of all things great and small. Do not go through life without at least trying to find happiness. I'm not talking about happiness on the outside.
Peace.
I'm talking about that true happiness that comes from inside of you. So many people believe, they go through life believing that they need someone to make them happy. Or if I get married to this person, he or she is going to make me happy. No. You become happy. The two of you all join together and be two happy people.
Big happiness.
But don't ever look for someone else outside of yourself to make you happy. How would you all say it? It never happen. Love yourself. Love yourself despite all the obstacles that may stand in your way. Learn to love yourself. Accept yourself for who you truly are. You are a black man, a black woman living in this society. Accept that. Learn to navigate through those rough, muddy waters. Learn to climb and that slippery slope. You slide back down, learn a different way to go up. But don't stay down.
Yes, sir.
Don't stay down. One of my mentors, Mr. Les Brown, said it: if you knock down 7 times, get up 8.
All right.
Just do not stay down. And make sure that if you get knocked down, you fall on your back. Because if you could look up, you could get up.
Yes, sir.
Forget about all these material things that you have lost.
Yeah.
You know, like the saying goes, don't cry over spilled milk. Do not allow the negativity that you encounter in life to rob you of your happiness. As I said it before, life is hard. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Everybody have issues. Everybody have obstacles they're trying to overcome. Yes, some of us have more dire circumstances to deal with than others. I understand that. But if some of you all know my story, you realize you don't have a damn thing to complain about. But yet still I smile. And I go through life. And you take it one day at a time. And you keep putting one foot in front of the other. And you keep on trotting. You keep on moving forward. Keep moving. Learn to appreciate the life that you have left. Learn to appreciate the people that are still here to share that life with. Because once there is life,
there is hope.
There is hope.
For sure.
Hope for a better. Hope for a better tomorrow. Carol Knight, Trini Girl Fly, Trini Sugar, Miles to Infinity Productions, Denise Williams, Lucy O'Brien. Thank you all for joining the chat tonight. We love and respect you. As Sam said, share the program with others. If it benefited you in some way, pass it on to someone else. Karen, Mr. Chase, Dr. Judith, Mr. Samuel Archer, It's been a pleasure. Peace and blessings.
Bless.
Blessings. Hi, I'm Dr. Judith Barnes. I'm an author, a playwright, poet. I'm also a broadcaster by training, and I recently found out about 2 years ago that I can paint paintings, which means I paint sceneries, I paint landscape, I paint animals. I have just discovered, and so that I can do this. And so along with all the other gifts and talents that I've been blessed with, I have paintings, and they are on view and for sale on Etsy and also on Facebook. And if you desire to order any painting or order one of my books, because I'm also an author, please give me a call at 470-564-8267. That's Dr. Judith, and the number again, whether you want to just talk to me or order one of my paintings or one of my books, please feel free to call 470-564-8267. Thank you.
Hello there and welcome. My name is Curtis Henry. Over the past few weeks, as we were putting the final pieces together to get the show on the road, some people asked, why do you need to showcase Caribbean people? Why Caribbean Chat? And I say, why not? Because we as Caribbean people have worked too hard, come too far, and suffered too long for us to continue taking a backseat. It's time for us to rise up, speak out, and show the world the value and the richness of our culture. So I'm providing a platform to showcase the history and culture of Caribbean people in entertainment, the arts, politics, sports, and economics. We will explore the many profound contributions they have made to society. So we invite you to stay with us as we launch what is to become one of the greatest voices of Caribbean people, for Caribbean people, by Caribbean people. On this platform, Caribbean people of excellence get to tell their story. Our aim is to ensure that your contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. Welcome to Caribbean Chat. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are Caribbean Chat.